Unit 3, Lesson 5, deals with solving equations still, but now we're looking at the distributive property. You'll notice that our objective is still the same as it was in the previous 4 lessons. Alright, the idea of showing our work is ultimately the most important thing. Alright, getting the correct answer is great, alright, but we want to be able to show that work. You'll notice a slight difference, alright, in that in our 4 steps there's something new here. Alright, the same 4 steps in solving apply. And this big, bold rule, whenever you do something on one side of an equation, you got to do the same to the other side, is still there. None of that has changed. But again, there's this addition of remembering to simplify before you solve. And that means one of 2 things. It means either distribute or possibly collect like terms. Make sure you have this written down. Okay? It could be both of them, by the way, which we're going to see in the future. Alright? But today we're looking at just distributing. So let's move on to our examples. Alright, we've got 5 quick examples to go through. Alright? And one of the things I want to point out is, oftentimes in algebra, we'll see that there's more than one way to do things. And that is certainly the case for these problems. But what I'm going to show you is doing the distributive property first, because that's going to work for all the different types of problems we're going to see over the next couple weeks. Whereas there's other kind of shortcuts to these problems that only work for the specific problems you see today. Alright, it's good to know those, and if you know how to do it, you could use it, but I'm not going to show you any other way besides for the distributive property. When we look at example A, just like we did in first semester, alright, if we see parentheses, we want to distribute first. So I'm going to have 3x minus 45 equal to 12. And I might as well just go ahead and take care of the distributive property in every problem. Distribute, 4x plus 20. Yes, even with the fraction you could distribute. Alright, 1/2 of x is 1/2 x. 1/2 of 4 is 2. On the bottom, this ugly looking thing, still distribute. Alright, when we end up with this ends up being 6x over 2. 6 over 2 is just 3, so that's 3x minus 72 equals negative 4. And the last one, oh man, I am way off with my brick wall on that one. The last one, notice this is negative, but again, that's nothing new. We've distributed with negatives before. And there we go. Alright, so that's the first step that we did in every single problem. We call that simplifying, not solving. It's simplifying because we're doing it to only one side. Alright, when we solve, we're going to start moving things from one side to the other, and that's where the rules from above become very important. So let me bring those back. Alright, always simplify before solving. Check. Just did it for every problem. Let's go ahead and solve. Alright, ask what's being done in the variable. We're multiplying by 3, subtracting 45. Last thing you say, first thing you get rid of. You guys should be pros at this by now. Divide by 3, and we end up with x equaling 19. Okay? Keep in mind you should always be checking your work. Alright, checking your work just requires one extra step right now in these type of problems. I'm going to plug it in. Always do parentheses first. Remember PEMDAS. PEMDAS told us our order of operations, and what's the most important is parentheses. So 19 minus 15 is 4, times 3 is 12. 12 equals 12. I am right. Moving on. Remember, it doesn't matter what side your variable's on. Wherever it is, that is where you begin. So I'm going to start over here and subtract a 20. Whoops. Negative 24 equals 4x. Divide both sides by 4. And we end up with x equaling negative 6. I think I'm right, but just to be sure, we might as well plug it in and check. That's negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Awesome. Moving on. I am going kind of quick. If I'm going too fast for you, remember, you could always pause the video if you want. You could rewind the video if you want. No big deal. Do it at your own pace as long as you know what you're doing. Move it on. Alright, so again, we're going to add 2 to both sides. I have a half of x is equal to negative 3. Okay? Remember, there's 2 ways of getting rid of a fraction. We prefer that you use the reciprocal. Alright, but you don't have to. You could divide by a half and use your calculator. Those are going to cancel, so I end up with x is equal to negative 6. Same old story here. I'm going to go check it to make sure I'm right. I have a half, negative 6 minus 4. Same sign add, keep the sign, that's negative 10. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. Those are the same. I got another one right. Moving on. Alright, just simple solving once again. Add the 72 over 72, not 22. Cancel. I get 3x equal to 68. Divide by 3, and uh-oh, I might have a problem here. Alright, because this is going to be a decimal answer. But I'm okay with decimal answers. Actually, we prefer fractions. Alright, and I shouldn't be circling yet because I'm going to prove to you that this is right. Alright, so we're going to do 68 over 3 over 2. Now again, we're going to use our calculator, so this is going to make this job a lot easier. 68 divided by 3 and then divide by 2 gives me 11.3 repeating. I'm going to subtract 12 from that and then multiply that thing by 6, and what a surprise, it's negative 4. Alright, if you weren't able to verify that in your calculator, we could work on that in class tomorrow. Alright, last one. Add the 8 to both sides and divide by the negative 2. So we end up with y equals negative 6. Again, I'm going to plug that in real quick. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. It checks. I'm right. We are done. Quick assignment today. Alright, the big thing to keep in mind is this first step now is going to be new, and we're going to work on this for a few days here. Alright, we want to be able to distribute or collect like terms before solving. We call that simplifying before solving. See you in class.